Hello, I'm Robin Cole, and welcome to the Satellite Image Deep Learning Podcast. In this episode, I spoke to Shahab Jozdani to learn about Chat2Geo, a web-based application designed to simplify remote sensing-based geospatial analysis through an intuitive chatbot-style interface. Large language models, such as ChatGPT, are reshaping the way users interact with complex datasets, and it's inspiring to see innovators like Shahab leverage this technology to democratize geospatial analytics. Note that we also recorded a demonstration video of Chat2Geo, which is linked in the show notes. Finally, if you're watching this on YouTube, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, as this really helps to reach a wider audience. Thank you. Hi, Shahab. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Robin. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Let's begin with where you work and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the founder at GeoRetina, and I have a master's and bachelor in geomatics engineering and a PhD in physical geography, all focusing on remote sensing and AI. And at GeoRetina, we're developing solutions to democratize and simplify complex geospatial tasks. And a lot of interesting things are going on at GeoRetina, and I hope that we can cover some of those things in your podcast.
Absolutely. So I kind of connected with Chat2Geo. Do you mind giving us an introduction to that software?
Absolutely, yeah. So Chat2Geo, let me go back and say from where it started. So we had the first version of our um, um, AI platform that we called it Aras, and it had connection to different sources of remote sensing data, connection to Google Earth Engine and some other sources. And then it uses those those pieces of information to produce analyses that are often difficult to do for especially those who don't have geospatial background. And it was quite powerful system, but we found that people didn't like to get involved in a more complex sort of interface, and they wanted something simpler.
Hmm.
And then we redesigned and re-architecture everything from scratch. And then we found that, hey, there is GPT and Claude and some other language models out there that people love and use every day. So we decided to build something very, very similar to that, but for geospatial tasks.
Mhm.
And then we started developing the solution. And then over time, we iterated over that and then improved it. And then we got feedback. And then we decided to also publish and release an open source version of our commercial app, which
Mhm.
is Chat2Geo. And the reason that we did that was to make sure that others who need to build something like that, they can start from somewhere. And yeah, so we can later talk about that and see what are the different components of
Right.
that app. Yeah.
So you identified this kind of missing piece of tooling that you thought others would benefit from.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially in the field of geoscience, geospatial data science, one of the most important things that is missing is having piece of software that can be, is web native, first of all, and then it has all the main components of a finalized product. So that's often missing. You see that we have, for example, as you know, QGIS, which is the best open source geospatial tool software. But web apps, we don't have all ready to use web apps for users, especially those who don't have the technical background. And Chat2Geo is actually bringing all those things or putting all those things together
Hmm. Right. So
inside one package.
I open Chat2Geo. What do I see? What's the experience?
So the experience, that's a very good question. The experience is very, very familiar. So it's like you open ChatGPT or Claude, and you can just very quickly start just asking a question. And that's one of the most important features of this app. We believe that. So I have a designer, a web designer expert. who is my friend, and she says that, it's always difficult to, provide training for new users when it comes to, bringing them on board. And we have to minimize that path from, wanting to start using some app and then really just use it.
Mm.
So for that, we design the app to be as simple as that, so people don't need any training because it's just a simple box and chatbot, and then they can start working with the app.
Mhm.
So it's very, very familiar for new users, and they can just quickly start using it.
Right. So the most basic use might be to query some data you've got somewhere or do some kind of analytic task that would otherwise be done with sort of point and click tools.
Absolutely, yeah. So all those things with a single prompt can be done without doing any specific clicking. And
Mm.
then they can get that, and then they can ask follow-up questions. So it puts together all the previous questions and responses together, and then it has the context required for answering subsequent questions.
Right. Okay. And obviously, ChatGPT is on OpenAI's server somewhere. My data might be on my laptop or some database somewhere. How do you connect and bridge these different pieces of information?
Yeah, that's interesting. So we have three main sources of data that we use throughout this app. The first one is satellite data that come from, for this case, come from Google Earth Engine. Um, so that's the main piece. The second one is the data that users upload to the system. So this is, we can break it into two pieces. One is the region of interest that they select. They can drag and drop the regions of interest like GeoJSON or shapefile, and then all the analysis will be done within those regions of interest. And the third one, which is actually part of the previous one, is the textual data, the non-spatial data, like reports, policies, and everything that is not spatial. They can also just drag and drop those pieces of information into the system
Mm.
and then integrate them with their geospatial analysis results.
Mhm.
And that's what we call the knowledge base, which is a RAG-based system that just queries large documents easily for users.
Mm. And I want to dig into what RAG is because it's an acronym I see all over the place. But does that mean I literally upload all my documents with every prompt? Is there some other process to get that context into the queries?
Yeah, so so the way that it works is that you have several documents, often thousands of pages, and then you just send them or upload or stream all those documents into an LLM. So what the LLM does is that it encodes those letters, words, and everything to just binary numbers. And then those encoded numbers or values are stored in a vector database. So it's like a database, but it's vector because of those numbers that are vector-like. And then whenever that you ask a question, again, your question is fed into the LLM, and the encoding again is done on your question, and then it will be sent to the vector database, and it's queried from the vector database. And then the encoded results will come back and then decoded for you.
Mhm.
So it's a very interesting process. It's not complicated, but that's the beauty of this. But this is just the simplest form of a RAG system.
Right. And what are the limits to it? Can this database get massive or how does that system scale?
Yeah, so that's one of the good features of RAG systems that you can scale them easily, but the main problem is that the way that you structure it and then extract the information from it, which is called chunk by chunk based extraction or structure, It's very limit. It's dependent on the data that you have, the context, the documents that you have. Sometimes it's like an essay that, individual parts, components are not important, but the main context is more important. So the way that you create or encode your documents in this rack system is different from the case where every paragraph could have a different piece of information from the other ones. And then if you increase the context or those chunk sizes, you may lose information. So it's sometimes it's very document dependent, and you have to take that into account. Otherwise, you will get some hallucinated responses or wrong responses coming from other
Mm.
places that are irrelevant.
Yeah. I'd imagine that ChatGPT, it's been exposed in many documents on the internet. Geospatial documents might have their own structure. Maybe they're referencing images and maps and things like that. Is the process going to be the same for sort of geospatial data as it is for other kinds of reports?
Could be, one of the, for example, for example, tabular data. One of the challenges is that um, uh, connecting. For example, we have databases for tabular data that can be easily, queried. For textual data, for example, documents, when we want to query them, it's often very complex because the way that the paragraphs are structured and the documents and geospatial information in them are provided, it could be complex maps and other things may not be queryable easily. But for this system that we have, it's not necessarily geospatial information in those documents, but rather some other types of information that could be useful. But there are systems that you can have also maps, embedded maps into documents, and they can also interpret those maps and then create a
Mm.
more, intuitive, more enriched experience for users.
Yeah, fantastic. So you can connect to your documents, you can connect to Earth Engine. Can I connect to like an arbitrary database that I've got?
Yes. So, for example, we have Esri's feature service that you can connect to. We're also adding Postgres connection. So if you have your Postgres somewhere, you can connect it to this system, perhaps first on GCP, Bedrock, Amazon, or some other places. But there is this system has been designed in a way that you can easily, scale it in terms of the databases and integrations that you may want to have.
Interesting. I've been hearing a lot about MCP. I'm curious if that's the approach you use, or even just to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so MCP, I think it's one of those very hype topics recently. Um, so we're not using that, but we are going to use that soon. It's on our road plan. But MCP, I think it's perhaps many still don't know how it can be used, but it's a very, very powerful protocol that saves us a lot of time. And why is that important? Because you may have those APIs that you want to integrate with your language based system, and then those APIs always change, and then they may break your system. But with MCP, what happens is that you don't need to be concerned about that anymore, because those APIs automatically will be updated, and it's like you always access the signature of those APIs, not actually how they are implemented.
Mm.
So MCP gives you a way to access up-to-date APIs, but not the details, how they are implemented, but the signature of those APIs that are often, this is not our responsibility to keep them updated, but the responsibility of the publishers of those APIs, like
Hmm.
GitHub, like OneDrive, etc.
I think there's another point kind of implicit there. You said that it's not something you use at the moment. You're obviously doing something slightly different. You're going to bring it in. All of these technologies are evolving at a very rapid pace. What's it like to kind of try and develop against that?
Oh yeah, so that's really challenging. So uh, we have heard about a cursor. the AI IDE. And one of the main things, or one of the most important things that made Cursor to have a $200 million ARR is that they are rapidly adding the new advances in AI to their system, to their IDE, which is actually under the hood is VS Code. Um, and that's something that has separated them from the competition like Windsurf. Um, but it's very, very challenging for smaller teams like us to keep up with the new technologies, new advances. But we try to just handpick those features that are really powerful and useful for us even in the future, not just bringing every new things into the system because we think that that's a new thing.
Right. So keeping up to date with what people are using and what's impactful, and then cautiously adopting as validated.
Absolutely, yeah, because I think that over time it will also help us maintain the code base more efficiently and connect new features to the system faster.
hmm Yeah, I'd love to dive a bit more into the development side. You obviously mentioned Cursor as a tool for, writing the code. How
Mhm.
deep does it go, the sort of automation that's possible with a tool like Cursor? Can I test my code? Can I run different versions of it? Have the tool kind of interact with it?
Mhm. Yeah, so I have used Cursor a lot. To be honest, I have used the different IDs, AI IDs, Z, Windsurf, Cursor. With Cursor, it can go very deep into your code base. It can write tests, unit tests, or other types of tests. It can make add new features if you want to. It can debug your code. But something that I found very not annoying, but not really well developed yet or well designed yet is that if you don't provide it with enough information, enough context, something called cursor rules, which are just system prompts for the LLM, it can break your architecture. It can create folders that are irrelevant. And if you don't care about those things, at the end, you may end up with a project that is very messy and very difficult to maintain and could be prone to bugs. But it's very, very useful. It can improve your efficiency or productivity if you just know how to interact with it, or something which is called prompt engineering. So you tell it
Mhm.
what it should do, otherwise it will do things that should not be done.
Yeah. And I assume that this will be applicable to the kind of analytics people will do with Chat2Geo as well. There'll be a bit of expertise in crafting the right prompt, knowing the system, etc.
Exactly, yes. So last week, I got feedback from one of our users that it would be nice if the system had this feature. And I said that this is not the goal of this system. It's actually designed for these applications, not that application. So should users, as you said, have to have some kind of basic context about what this tool is going to do and what would be the results that they will receive from the system.
Yeah. One final point. Have you thought about kind of novel ways of documenting the systems? For example, I've seen people generate videos just from code bases or podcasts. Is that something that's crossed your mind or something you've looked at?
Absolutely. So I love teaching. So I think that now that we have the open source version of this app, I think that if I have the time, I want to, publish some videos, tutorials on how we started this app, how we developed it, and the different pieces together, and also bring on some kind of the applications of these AI systems like Cursor and how we can efficiently use them. I think, as you said, the pace of advances in AI is crazy these days, and there are many people who are interested, but because of many reasons, they don't have the resources to find those pieces of information. And publishing videos like that would be really important. And I think that yes, in the future, I will also do that.
Good stuff. Looking forward to seeing what you do there. Really fascinating conversation. I think LLMs are going to have a huge impact on many areas, from the development to the use of these tools, and exciting to hear from somebody that's at the forefront of that. We're going to jump onto a demonstration video, which will be a separate recording from this one. But just to wrap things up there, I just want to hear what's the most surprising thing or delightful thing you've heard somebody use Chat2Geo for.
Yeah, so I think that one of the most positive feedback that we got was that how easy it is to just use this system, how fast it is, and how intuitive the system is. And we always strive to make it more user-friendly for users, but still we got this positive feedback that we always wanted that people have when you're using Chat2Geo, that it's simple, it's not, there are not a lot of buttons, it has a very familiar interface.
I'm reminded of that Steve Jobs quote about, using Windows and then, using iOS is like having a glass of cold water when you're going through hell. That can be the best,
Absolutely, yeah.
the user experience can be the best compliment, I think. So that's great to hear.
Absolutely,
Uh,
yes.
well, thanks again. Looking forward to catching up for the demo in the next video. Lastly, if people want to follow your updates, what's the best platform?
Right now LinkedIn, but I'm going to be more active on X sometime soon.
Right, okay. Right.
Yes.
We'll have a bit of company on X at last. Good to hear.
Sure.
Okay, well, once
Thank you.
again, thank you, and hopefully people will join us for the demonstration video.
Thank you so much, Robin.
See ya.
Thank you.